What is going on? Welcome back to Fanatic Journey. So today I want to talk to you on Lucid. I want to go over some of the current data points, what's been coming out about the company itself, including potential Q4 delivery and production numbers. And then aside from that, I'll go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So Lucid did go down 4.74%. There was a new 52 weekend all-time low created at $3.61. And despite the sell-off, there wasn't even that much volume. So 32.6 million shares being traded, 37.2 is the average. These are some of the transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000 based on the bid, the ask, and the selling price. Majority of all of these, with the exception of this one for 706, was sells. So not necessarily the best to see Lucid at 52 week and all-time lows and nobody wanting to buy it. And I'm going to break it down on why nobody is really buying it, meaning institutions. Today there was no news, no SEC filings, nothing like that, but there was this blog post that did come out saying Lucid, why I'm not worried about the cash burn. And so in here talks on a lot of things that's Lucid's kind of going through right now, including some of its challenges. So in here it says, despite facing challenges with production and cash burn, there are still reasons to remain optimistic about Lucid, including the support of the PIF and the upcoming launch of the SUV. And I do agree, both the PIF support and the SUV, so the Gravity, is absolutely good, very good catalyst. The only negative to this is the same points that he is optimistic about is the same reason why institutions are not investing, because technically the Gravity is coming out tail end of 2024. So ultimately from now until then, what are they expecting? For instance, this Lee individual, which has 112 followers, not that much. But anyways, aside from that, like, is big money expected just to have their money put in Lucid and for it to go down from now until the end of 2024? No. Institutions would rather even pay a premium. So whether it be $4, $5, or who knows, maybe even higher, they would probably rather buy it at higher prices if there is confirmed catalyst. Because based on what I'm going to talk on after this, things still are not going Lucid's way. So based on what they previously stated, yes, their actual Gravity is going to come up at the tail end of 2024. But what if they push it back? It's just so gray, and nobody really wants to put their money in, like obviously a depreciating asset, for a year on hopes of something. So in reality, they're saying to remain optimistic about the Gravity, but still, I feel like that's kind of a positive, negative kind of scenario. And the PIF, yes, the PIF is a very good catalyst, but the same thing what they're talking on, why they're not worried about the cash burn rate because of the PIF, that's also the same reason why institutions are not getting in, because they are burning through so much money. This is exactly why the PIF does have to step in and give Lucid so much money. So I don't know. I feel like this individual's optimistic viewpoints are very flawed. And I feel like, I don't know why, maybe there's just a rush of new investors into Lucid. Like if you go on social media, there's a lot of delusional, very bullish pumpers out there. And I get it. I'm very optimistic sometimes too. And again, like it's different viewpoints on your time horizon, right? If you are investing for 2030, don't care about all this, then yeah, it's just short-term noise. But if you're trying to rationalize and say like, hey, buy the dip, well, guess what? Like I don't know. That's a side tangent. I already kind of explained that yesterday, but some other updates I wanted to share with you. So this kind of came out. So it does show estimates, of course, that Lucid did sell 1,512 vehicles in Q4 and delivered 1,060. So it does look like, based on these numbers, which are obviously not official, they did miss. And also on a side note, that technically does not account for anything that was produced out of the AMP2 facility. So whether it be 800 or maybe even a surprise more than that, and nor does it actually account for any deliveries that occurred internationally. So you kind of maybe account for 20% more, but regardless, even if you add like 400 or 300% more, they still miss, because they were at, I think, 4,100, if I remember correctly, for deliveries, and they needed to be between 8 to 8,500. So they miss. So this definitely is not a good sign for the potential upcoming earnings. Aside from that though, this was posted on Twitter by Lucid. So if you're taking possession of a Lucid Air in January, you can actually receive $300 towards a purchase of a Lucid connected home charger. And this is something, hopefully this upcoming Q4 earnings, they change, because I've said in the past, like, they have a lot of different accessories, but I've never heard them talk any time about any of those products on any of their earnings. And I feel like that would be good to know. Like, how are those sales actually going? Because this came out like mid 2022, but yeah, I've never heard them talk on the charging station whatsoever, which is $1,200. Like, I don't know. They haven't really given us a lot of updates saying that, you know what, this is a success, this is, you know, a miss, we're going to try to improve better or whatever. Like, they're not really transparent, but then again, I think we already do know that. Going over some data points, starting off with what shorts did. Today was another brutal day, so they increased 3.79 million shares. 25.18% of the free float is being shorted. 222.91 million shares overall are being shorted, and cost of borrow average is opening up a little bit, or I guess is lower in comparison to yesterday, so 3.16%. And that clearly is just based on the supply and demand model, so a lot more investors or newer investors have been getting in, and obviously in turn they have been lending their shares out. But as well, it also does indicate that there is around 400,000 shares available to be shorted, and that is through the Interactive Brokers short availability. As far as options, so right now, or I guess with the market closed, $1.47 million in puts being purchased versus 784,000 in calls. Sentiment wise, 56% of all the options being done are bearish. So once again, even with it at 52-week and all-time lows, people are anticipating for it to trend down. Of the call options that are being purchased, it is anticipated for it to be above $4 by the end of next week, and looking at puts, it is anticipated for it to be sub $3 by February the 16th. So that's kind of crazy to think about. When it comes to today, it did land on a very strong support. So it closed at 362. So on this S2. So in reality, if this S2 does break, then anticipate it to trade between this S3 and this S2, so 342 and then 362. Vice versa, 374 is going to be that next strong resistance. So as far as the next thing that could potentially save Lucid, if they don't put anything out, will be CPI, and that'll be coming out on Thursday, January the 11th. So as it stands, just Lucid does look like it is in a very dangerous death spiral, and hopefully these numbers are wrong that I did mention right here, because I don't think Lucid could survive another miss. And keep in mind, this upcoming earnings, they are going to be giving us guidance for 2024 on their targets. So I feel like that's also another big thing that they need to give us, because if, for instance, it's less than 25,000, anticipate the stock just to have a easy 10% sell off as a result of that. If they give maybe 25,000 or higher, then you know what, the market's going to take that as a pretty good success. But once again, if they come on, give us like 10,000, like holy hell, like this is going to be another crappy year. And I feel like this is one of those stocks that has a very, very good product. Just overall, management has completely destroyed every opportunity that they've had in the last, was it 2.5 years? So let me know your thoughts on Lucid. Give yourself a shout out. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? What have you been doing with Lucid? As well, one final thing, take advantage of this promo that I've been sharing with you with Moomoo. It's been extended up until January the 15th. Simply sign up for an account with Moomoo, throw $100 at it, and you get 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. So this is one of the best deals in the market. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.